Well, I've known Judge Hunter for more years than he would care to remember.
30 years.
30 years. And I've always known him to be an outstanding lawyer, outstanding jurist, and the people of North Carolina will benefit from his wisdom and judgment. Well, Bob has lived a real life and has real-world experiences that are very important for our judges and our justices to have. And so I think it's really the sum of Bob's life and what he's done and what he's learned and his background, his love for North Carolina, that makes him an ideal candidate for the Supreme Court. Well, the judicial decisions from the people who they elect have a profound impact on their lives, both the economics of their life and the social fabric of their lives. And so for that reason, they should know who is making the decisions at the top of the judicial structure in their state. I think our system works on voters having an investment in the process as well, and certainly casting the ballot is part of that investment, but with being able to cast that ballot comes really a responsibility and ultimately a satisfaction for the voter. I think if they do get to know the candidates and have reasons for supporting them. Well, I think every campaign in America on both sides of the aisle had far more lawyers volunteering for them after 2000 than they did before. So it's brought, and to me that's a sign that it's brought an awareness of campaigns and how close they can be, and to some degree how lawyers can get involved in the outcomes of them.
Was that a good or a bad thing, having more lawyers involved?
No, not necessarily a good thing, but I think an inevitable thing. Well, the interesting thing about elections in America is that you have 8,000 jurisdictions that have some responsibility for putting on elections, so that the decision-making that goes into the casting and counting of ballots has many, many different levels of authority to it, so that the inconsistencies that were kind of at the core of what the Florida recount became about is perfectly capable of repetition today. I think different states and different localities beneath that have different ways that are right for their particular jurisdictions. So I think there is no one right or wrong way to do redistricting. I do think different states, some do it through the legislative process, some do it through the commission process, some do it through citizens commissions. I mean, there are many different varieties of ways that redistricting is done, and I think all match the needs of their own jurisdictions. One person, one vote is absolutely essential. The notion that people do feel that they have representation in the bodies to which the redistricting is affecting, I think is very important. There are principles of maintaining geographic boundaries, of being sure that certain fabrics of the community are woven into the districts. What I think is that people know that the First Amendment and the right to free speech is a core bedrock principle of the way the country is run. And certainly speech by individuals and now by corporations has been recognized under the First Amendment by the U.S. Supreme Court as amongst those bedrock principles. So I don't think people should be concerned about independent spending, because in fact what that brings is more voices to the marketplace of ideas. That's what the country is all about. Different jurisdictions put restraints on candidates and political parties in what they can do. I think, at least on the federal level, what you have now is an upside-down system where you're restricting candidates and parties whose voices should be loudest in their election campaigns. But that's bad legislative policy that has led to independent expenditures filling up the void that's left by restricting what candidates and parties can raise. I think President Obama's attorneys in the White House are excellent attorneys, and I believe they're excellent people too. I think the Obama administration is making a very wrong judgment in the way it looks at the power of the executive branch, and really its failure to be able to achieve things in Congress and the ability to sort of do the negotiating and talking that's required in Congress. And so as their legislative agenda has gotten stopped because they're not taking the basic blocking and tackling steps of talking to people on the Hill, including Republicans, they've turned to a lot of regulations to try and get through an agenda that's not been endorsed by Congress nor by the American people. And so I think that is a position the administration has found itself in that's terribly unfortunate and is not really the way I think the country works best, nor the way the administration could actually achieve its objectives.